Thank you. Good morning, everyone. My name is Yesenia Mejia, and I'm a long-term trainee in the program. And today I'll be presenting on my project titled Community Needs Assessment, Building Communities for Latino Latinx Families. And this project was conducted in collaboration with the Autism Society San Diego. And before continuing, I just want to make a quick note about language that I used in my survey and that I'll be using during my presentation. And so I'll be using the term Latino-A-X, as this is a recognized term that's inclusive of the intersectionality aspects of social identity. And I'll also be using identity first language, but I want to just acknowledge that people of Latin American heritage and autistic people are not a monolith, and many factors impact how they may choose to socially identify. So it's important to always, acknowledge and allow the community to choose how they would like to be identified. But these are the terms that I used throughout my project and that I'll be using today. Next slide, please. And so I completed my CAP project with the Autism Society San Diego, where I also completed my community placement. And this organization is a nonprofit that is focused on creating connections and empowering everyone in the autism community with the resources needed to live a full, meaningful life. And in meeting with the executive director and board members from the society, they identified that they currently have limited engagement from the Latino Latinx autistic community in San Diego. So limited attendance at in-person and virtual events, and limited engagement via social media. And so a goal was to gain a better understanding of the community needs and any barriers or facilitators to engagement, and then use that to tailor programs and events based on these needs and interests. Next slide, please. And so to reach that goal, I worked with the Autism Society San Diego executive director and several board members, and collaborated with guidance from my mentor, Dr. Luelmo, and my CAP committee, and developed a community survey. And for the sake of time, I won't cover this slide in detail, but I'll just say that it was an electronic survey developed in both English and Spanish. And it was disseminated via the Autism Society San Diego Facebook pages, via email to their listserv, through community contacts, and also with help from some of my LEND peers. And I used the EPIS framework to help structure and guide my survey questions. And overall, we really just wanted to gain a better understanding of who the Latino Latinx autistic community comprises here in San Diego, what their interests and support needs are, why they're not participating in events, and get a better understanding about the fit of the current programs being offered and whether these really fit with the needs and interests of this community. Next slide, please. Thank you. And so I received a total of 180 responses to the survey. Most respondents were parents with children between the ages of 4 and 12. Most respondents had children who were males, and the majority reported English as the primary language spoken in their home. And so again, we really wanted to get to know more about the community. And so we asked about membership status. So a little over 50% of respondents were members, but around 44% had not attended an event or a program. And we also wanted to know about the best way to disseminate information. So just best way to contact them, but also best way to find out about events. And the majority reported they preferred email communication. And we also surveyed about reasons for not attending events, And the majority reported that it was simply because they didn't know about the events, or the events were during inconvenient dates and times for them. And so we also surveyed about most convenient times, which, as you can see here, were weekend afternoons, mornings and evenings, followed by weekend evenings. Next slide, please. And in terms of the fit of the current programs being offered by the Autism Society San Diego, and whether these fit with the needs and interests of the community, if respondents had attended an event, they were asked to report to what extent they agreed or disagreed with several statements asking about their experience participating in the events. And so 49% reported enjoying the event, 46% reported they felt welcome, 45% reported they found the events accessible in their primary language, and then 39% reported they found that they met families similar to them that they could relate to. And I just also want to note that a large part neither agreed or disagreed, a large percentage, and there were only very few, 4 to 6% across questions that either disagreed or strongly disagreed. And so, as reported here, as you can see in the graphs, the activities that were of most interest to respondents were social events, followed by camps, aquatic programs, and support groups. The community is interested in learning more about behavior, friendships and dating, employment, mental health, and in terms of most needed supports, by a large margin, people were really wanting more social support from their family, friends, and community. So 71% reported that, followed by educational supports, supports navigating services, and more information about independent living. And next slide, please. And so finally, there was a direct question about in the survey about whether Autism Society San Diego was meeting the needs of the Latino Latinx community, and 31% agreed or strongly agreed with this statement. 54% neither agreed nor disagreed, and then 7% disagreed. And we also provided an opportunity for additional comments, which I will talk a little bit about as well. And so in terms of the most helpful resources of what the Autism Society San Diego is currently providing, respondents found their emails to be the most helpful in finding out about events and programs, followed by support groups, and then the website and social media sites. And then in terms of the most attended events, these were the camps, the aquatic programs, social events, and support groups. Next slide, please. Okay. And so I just wanted to share a couple of the comments here that there's a rich qualitative piece to this that I'm not able to unfortunately present for the sake of time, but I thought these were some really great comments and suggestions. So one respondent noted Spanish-speaking greeter information person at all events would present a very welcoming effort to reach the Hispanic community. Bilingual student volunteers who could receive community service hours could act as hosts, touring families around the event for a few minutes to make sure they know where to go, how to participate during the event, and most important, have guide or greeter introduce them to a couple of other families and help show acceptance by making a human social connection, which helps keep people coming back. So this comment really, I think, encompassed what we were, the type of information we were really trying to gain from this survey. Next slide, please. And so the results from this survey will be used to help tailor future programs, and I'll be presenting the results at the next board meeting and offering some suggestions and recommendations and working collaboratively with the Autism Society San Diego to think about things that can be done to increase engagement from this community. And so some ideas are, you know, having recruitment efforts focus on getting people on the email listserv, since a large portion of people responded and listed that this was a way that they preferred to receive communication. To host more events on weekend afternoons and mornings, because these were the preferred times, and then host them some information from the qualitative data also suggested that, you know, more events across the county more generally were needed. Another idea is to recruit more diverse volunteers, staff, and board members to help build the community, increase the sense of belonging at the events. Tailor flyers and web pages to feature more diverse families and have them available in Spanish. Develop programs and events that specifically focus on fostering social support, since this was a big need. So like parent or child mentoring, cultural celebration events like fiestas. It reminds me of the Fiesta Educativa name and why they chose that name and how that helps bring people together. And then host more frequent, smaller events throughout the year for the different ages and the different needs of the community. So that's something that was mentioned in the comments as well. And so next slide, please. And so I just want to thank the LEND faculty and peers, my CAP committee, Dr. Paul Elmo, Dr. Mary Baker Erickson, and Dr. Lauren Gist, and a huge thank you to the Autism Society San Diego, especially the executive director, Andrea Karogi, who collaborated with me and spent a lot of time with me looking over the questions for the survey, and then also the Latino, Latinx community members who responded to the survey.